So, what I want to address tonight is impulse responses versus built-in cabinets or stock cabs that you can get in your headrush, in your Helix, and Kempers or whatever other digital mauler there is out there. Okay. So what I have set up here on the screen is a pretty simple rig. I have some high gain heads. I think one is a Saldana extended range. The other is a Lead 800 bass mod, which is really cool. And what's very interesting is depending on the type of amplifier you choose and also the type of impulse response or cabinet, you can get very different colorations between the two. So just for example, let me do something real fast here. Let me make a new rig. We're going to call it simple rig, because why not? Okay, so if you're new to the headrush, actually didn't mean to do it like that, but this is fine. If you're new to the headrush, you basically have a touch screen here that you can choose different things. I am going to take out these heads and let's take out the cabs. And I'm going to leave the graphic EQ in there, and we'll turn off the pitch delay. We'll leave in the reverb. And here's the IR. We'll just turn off the tube screamer. So we have a lot of different amps to choose from, and depending on if you want a clean sound or a crunch or a lead or whatever, there's all kinds of different options here. But let's say, for example, that we want to go classic, rock kind of stuff. So for me, that's going to be some kind of Marshall sound. I love the Lead 800 options they have. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose the bass mod version. And right now there's not a cab in here. So this is what it sounds like. Right, you got that swarm of bees kind of sound. So let's just bring in a cab. And this is, for instance, a Bogner 30, which has vintage 30s in it. I don't want the 2 times just yet. We can mess around with 2 times later. But here's one with the 57 on axis. And already, I mean, that's pretty good for a overdrive sound, right? Here's a 409 microphone, which has a little less fizz, which may be what you want. It might be good. And here's one with a 421, which to me has less mids but more high end, so it has that scooped sound already. So it just depends on the level of mid-range that you want. And off axis is going to have more bass, less highs. So let's go back to the 409. And in the past, I've kind of shied away from the 409, but I think it sounds good. What's up, Greg? And then you got the 57. I was sitting here playing guitar for like an hour and just messing around with different rigs. I was like, you know what? Let's just go live and let's talk about some stuff here. So, now in this instance, this cab sounds really good. Okay, I'm perfectly fine with that sound, and let's play over this track that I made earlier today. It's like a heavy kind of sludgy kind of sound. Okay, so that works for that. Now, one thing that you may not be aware of, but depending on which microphone you choose and which cab you choose, there can be like a little bit of fizz in the upper mid-range area, sometimes the highs, somewhere between that 4 and 5K range, sometimes 3K range, just depends. And this is a 57, so it is going to be brighter. But what I have here on my, I have a carved preset on my graphic EQ, and I'm cutting a little bit of the lows, bumping some lower mids, cutting the mids around 800 hertz, boosting some upper mids around 2K, and cutting some 3.2K high end there. So what I'm going to do is turn this on and off as I play, and then you'll hear a slight difference here. All right, now, if you compare those back and forth, one, the one without the EQ is definitely a lot brighter. And that may work for you in the mix, just depending on what you're playing. But a lot of times as an engineer or a producer, I find myself trying to fight with the extra top end once you get the vocals in there and maybe background vocals and then the cymbals from the drums and all this extra high-end content. Sometimes you don't need all that in the electric guitar sound. So therefore, you have to use a graphic EQ to kind of carve some of that out in post, which means you have to drag in an EQ plug-in. And let me turn this mic here a little bit so I don't get a lot of plosives. You have to use some extra EQ in the post to carve some of that out. But a lot of times it's great to get the sound going in just like you want it, so that way you don't have to do as much EQing after the fact, if that makes any sense. So what I'm going to do now, let's play some solo-y stuff over this backing track with the graphic EQ on, and then we'll talk about some impulse responses. Okay, so hold on. Yeah. Okay, don't watch this channel for my playing because it's not going to impress anybody. But so that's with the graphic EQ in there, and I felt like that the sound kind of it sounded smoother over the top versus this, which is right. It's definitely brighter. And it's not always going to be exactly what you want. Like I said, you want to carve out some of the sound of the electric guitar so that way vocals and other high-end content can mesh a little bit better. So another thing you can do is hit the 2 times. And now we have the same cab, but now we're going to add in a Royer 121, which is known for having a very smooth top end, maybe some extra bass and all that. So we got 7 viewers right now. Go ahead and comment in the chat box. Let me know who you are, where you're from. If you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, I'm gonna keep talking here. So, all right. Okay, this is on axis, and the other one is still on axis. Let's do the 57 off axis. See what that sounds like. Okay, and that is with the graphic EQ off, and already with the 121 in there, it's a lot. It's not as bright sounding, and it kind of fits what I'm going for a little bit more. So let's play the backing track again. Yay, pinch harmonic. So we got 121 on axis, 57 off axis. Let's go to a 409. Okay, that sounds good too. Now, if you like that sound, then there's really no need to go searching anywhere else to get other stuff online, whether it's Own Hammer or Chop Tones or whoever. And I think a lot of beginners can fall into a trap of like, oh, I see all these other people buying impulse responses and maybe I should too. Well, maybe you should, but you don't feel like you have to. I mean, there's plenty there to get the sound that works for a lot of situations, whether it's clean, country stuff or jazz or hard rock stuff. And obviously I'm just using one head and two different cabs with two different mics on it. And, it sounds good to me. Let's bring in the graphic EQ one more time. Okay, that's a lot of sculpting there. And I think with the 121 in the signal chain, it fills in a lot of that low end and makes it sound fuller, which I like. So I've been perfectly fine using that kind of sound. Now, what can happen is as soon as you start combining different cabs and EQs, it can take up more spaces in your blocks right here than maybe you'd want, because after you add those two blocks, you're left without, maybe you have some compression and some different drives and a modulation and a few different reverbs, maybe a few different delays, and now you're out of room in the signal chain here because you only got 11 blocks to mess with. And if you use up 2 of those, now you're down to 9. And then obviously your amp takes up a block, so now you're down to 8. And is 8 blocks enough for you guys? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But what the beauty of impulse responses does is it's not that it sounds better or worse than your stock cabs. But it's more of a convenience thing for me. And impulse responses can be more customizable depending on who you get them from. So in this case, we're going to bring in, let's go to like a citrus pack from Sonic DNA. I really like his stuff. His name is Greg Barth. You should check him out on his sonicdna.com website. He has a lot of cool packs on there. But citrus is a orange cab. Hence the citrus thing. So this is what this sounds like. Okay, that's just one of them. Here's a extended bass. And what custom impulse responses can do is, depending on the pack that you get, there's going to be a lot of variations in there, but the maker of the impulse response can really tailor the sound to like different genres and all kinds of different stuff. I mean, if you search on Google, you'll find like Metallica impulse responses or Kill Switch Engage or, Anthrax or whoever, if you use that IR with a certain amp head, then you will get the sound straight off the record. I mean, it'll sound pretty dead close depending on your pickups and your guitar, but it can sound really good. All right, so this here sounded good to me. So there's an off axis with extended bass. Here's a cap. And you can see on the screen that my low cut and my high cut they're not filtering anything out. So right now, if I brought my high cut up a little bit, let's say to like 100. Okay, then we play over this backing track again. Very cool. So that fits really well in the mix right there. And what he's done, or the maker of this impulse response, Sonic DNA, what he's done is he's pretty much pre-filtered and pre-shaped the sound for you. So that way you don't have to go into the stock cabs and use a graphic EQ or learn to use a parametric EQ, which is far well beyond most people's heads if you're not an engineer of any kind. It's like, well, what do all the parameters even mean? And I don't know how to use them to get the sound I want. So it's almost like buying impulse responses in that case is almost like a shortcut for you. It gets you to your destination faster without you having to mumble over a lot of different cab options and EQ options to try to find your sound. Does that make sense? So a lot of places out there, yes, they do charge for the impulse responses, but for a few dollars, it's worth getting a lot of different impulse responses that you can kind of experiment with. And you just have that option of, shoot. Sorry, my foot hit the phone stand here. Yeah, buying impulse responses just cuts down on the time it takes to find your sound. And there's like this one pack right here. I mean, there's plenty to play with. So here's like a 57 on the cap. Okay, 57s are going to be a little bit brighter. Here's with the extended bass. Cool. Let's check that one out over the thing. Okay, I like that. Let's go back to our dual cab sound and see what that does. Okay, just by comparison, I can tell there's a lot more high end on these cabs versus this. And that is going to sit a lot better in the mix than something that's more bright, that has a lot of fizz to it. Here's the graphic EQ. And that's better as far as the high end, but I do like the sound of this impulse response. It still has the mid-range, but it smooths out some of the top end there. Here's off axis. And let's do like a 421. Okay, that one's cool. I mean, there's just so many options. Let's do another pack. Here's a British pack, which are fun. This is one of the earlier Sonic DNA stuff. Let's go to number 1. That one sounds good. Here's the EB is extended bass. So he just takes the bass frequencies and extends them up a little bit. All right, 7 people in the chat. Let me know who you are, folks. Ask a question down below in the chat box. And yeah, I will be updating the description after I end the live stream with my full gear list of everything I use here in the studio or have used, or just suggestions for gear that I like. So if you buy anything through those links on Amazon, then I get a small commission from that. So this last week, somebody did buy a Headrush pedal board and a backpack and a speaker, and I think I got like $34. So that's cool. Not saying you have to buy anything through my links, but if you want to help support the channel, I do all my YouTube video stuff for free. So that's just a way that you can help support, because I don't use Patreon or anything like that. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions about the Headrush pedal board or gig board. I'm using the gig board right now because it's sitting here on my desk. And then I got my little phone over the screen here so you can actually see what I'm doing this time. Other than the last live stream I did last night, which I didn't have the phone on and you couldn't see what I was doing. So wow, that's really cool. There's a guy named like here's Ingle. I'll get to a guy here in a second, but here's an Ingle one. This is definitely a little bit darker. That's a 121, so it's definitely going to be darker. That sounds tight. Nice and tight. Here's a 421. I definitely like that 421 sound. Here's the cap. If you don't know what cap means, it's just the very center of the speaker is the cap. And then cap E, it would be cap edge. So it's like you move the mic just slightly over a little bit. And that's what that means. Here's extended bass. All right. I like that. That sounds good. Let's do a new rig. We're going to call it Jazz. Because why not? And let's not use a high gain amp. Let's go for something very, very smooth. Let's do like a Black Lux. And we'll do something like this. Let's put on the middle position. Okay, let's clean it up a little bit here. Treble, intensity, bass down. Now, is the Ingle the right sound we want for a clean jazz sound? Probably not. But I think there is a, I'm looking here. I thought there is a, let's do a Cali pack real fast. I think there's something in there we can use. that sounds nice. Sound nice and full. Let's not use that one. Dark Sun. Ed is Eddie Van Halen. Fender Twin. Let's do that one. Here, this one has a JBL pack, so let's turn off the delay. Okay, let's see what the cabs we had on earlier sounds like. And those sound good. So what you're gonna find, oh, people are commenting. I didn't see it. What you're gonna find is the clean sounds you can pretty much get away with using anything, but once you start getting the high gain stuff, yeah, I got the Fender Twin in there. You're gonna find that there's a lot of fizz that can happen when using high gain tones, and you are gonna want to shape those sounds a little bit more than just your normal, picking the microphone. So maybe a little bit of para EQ globally, not global, but graphic EQ, and that's where an impulse response can get you a little bit closer to the sound you want without having to fuss with all that stuff. Especially if you're not experienced with EQ, then just buy an impulse response pack and be done with it. I keep hitting the phone. Sorry, guys. It's all close to my foot right here. I had some Echo Short Room. It sounded cool. Let's put it on Jazz Club. Let's see what that does. Okay. How long have we been going? Almost 30 minutes. I'll cut off here in a second. The Black Mini actually sounds pretty cool for like a super small amp. Obviously, you can drive it if you want. But if you keep it down low, maybe turn the treble down, the bass up. I hadn't played jazz in a while, but extended bass. Zill pack. All right, let's try it out. Let's try it out, Greg. Because why not? I don't remember what the Zill is. Turn these off. So you hear that extra bass come in there? And that's all within the actual file itself. You don't have to fuss around with different stuff. Here's extended highs. 121 off axis. And more 121. So these are combos like 121, 160. So the 160 is going to add more brightness, and the 121 is going to take care of the low end kind of stuff, the darker stuff. Here's a 121 57. Do wah wah. Here's just a 160 by itself. Sounds good. And 421. back on. Let's do a neck pickup. Sumyon D, do you have a head rush tutorial playlist for beginners? So I pretty much do. So you need to go to just search for the ultimate guide to the head rush pedal board or gig board. And that is an hour-long with timestamps or with chapters video that shows you everything you need to know to get you started about using the head rush. As far as like the ins and outs and how to set up your rigs and how to use set lists and how to set up scenes and my philosophy behind how I actually build my rigs and all that. Yeah, just watch that video, Sumyum, and that'll get you going. Okay. I do have over 100 head rush videos alone, which can be pretty daunting to try and wade through. So that's why I made those Ultimate Guide series videos for those that just want one video that they can watch that gives them everything. I'll pretty much just consolidate all the information in those 100 videos down to like one big time video. Okay. Do you ever use 2 IRs in a rig? Well, not really, but I can. So let's take out these cabs here. Let's take out the EQ, custom IR, default, and we'll go in. Here's a Bonner or Boner, I don't know. It doesn't sound bad. If you want to like change the mix, maybe. No, I can't do that. Maybe the gain. Can't do that either. Yeah, there's really not a way to like, adjust the volumes of each. I mean, they're literally just in series. So I am working with Greg on doing some stereo IR stuff. I don't know if I want to say that or not, but I already did. So if you made it this far in the video, then there's a little top secret thing for you guys. But for those that have clicked off after 10 minutes of watching this video, then they'll never know because they won't even watch this far. So, I mean, it sounds too muddy at that point. So, I can add in a tube screamer. Pitch delay. All right, cool. Oh, that sounds good. Let's see what the other Zeal stuff is. 2x12, 57. Yeah, thanks, Sonia. And let me know if you have any other questions. But that one video should clear up pretty much everything you would want to know or even ask about the head rush. So and that's why I made it. I just wanted people to have an easy place to go. They can learn everything about it. Now, I do have, this is for people that want to have like a full view of like how amplifiers and pedals like integrate together. I do have a head rush tone sculpting course on my website. It's around $80, but what you get for that is every single amp, every effect, pretty much everything in the pedal board I use to portray concepts that you can apply to real amps, real pedals, real guitars, real everything. And how each one interacts with each other and all that fun stuff. So, And there's also a membership that you can sign up for that gets you access to a music theory course, the head rush course, and also a music production course that I'm currently working on making videos for. And there's also going to be like learning to play songs from like different artists and all that stuff. So, and that's like a one-time payment, or there's a 6-month payment plan. Then when you're done with 6 months, you're done for life. So it's kind of like taking private lessons from me because it has my personality, my style of teaching in all the videos. And so if you're looking for a teacher that can teach you music theory, a little bit of recording, a little bit of gear, then that's definitely well worth investing in yourself and in that membership so you can be a more confident musician. Okay. So I hope that helps anybody out there who's made it this far in the video at 36 minutes and want something that you're looking for something more to help guide you on your journey of being a musician and all that stuff. So I think that's pretty good. So what I've determined, or what I've hope I've portrayed in this video, is stock cabs aren't bad. If you know how to use EQ, then you can probably get away with a lot. But buying a good impulse response pack from Sonic DNA, or obviously there's other people out there that sell them as well, and they're all good in their own right. But once you find a pack that you really connect with, then the impulse responses are just they have all the sounds there that you would need, and you can always experiment with choosing, trying out different ones. But I like them. I like it. They definitely make my engineering life easier here in the studio because I can just find an impulse response that I like and then just run with it, and it sounds good. So it's 57. Let's try that one, and let's get rid of that one, and let's bring in a let's do a 5150. Let's go back to full bore craziness here. Thank you, Francois. I don't know. Yeah, thanks for watching. Well, Jay Eduardo, that can be that can be an issue. So if you think just choosing a regular stock cab isn't giving you the sound you want, but a large impulse response pack is too many options, well, you have to figure out what situation that you're in and the overall sound that you're going for. So if you want something bright, then find something in there that has like a 57 or maybe a 421. Hey, Semyon. Yeah, so let me go to let me finish making this comment here. So figure out the sound you want. If you want something brighter, pick a 57, 421 kind of sound. If you want something a little more smoother, maybe choose something with an off-axis variation, or maybe maybe an extended bass version. So that way you still get some top end, but you got the extended lows there to kind of fill in the girth a little bit. And that would help you for that. So Samyun, you can go to you can just go to youtube.com and search for Ultimate Guide to the Headrush Pedal Board, and it'll just pop right up. But on my actual website, let me change my screen around here. phone. Let's take that off and let's go to display capture. Like so. Something like that. And I'll go to a web address. Yay, you can kind of see it. So drmcfarlandstudios.com is my website. You can see it right there, drmcfarlandstudios.com. If you go to Video Vault, which is just a reiteration of all the free stuff you can get on YouTube, there is the Ultimate Guide series right here that you just scroll down a little bit. You still got the Headrush Gigboard series and Headrush Pedalboard series and Headrush versus Helix, Headrush rig reviews, which I will be doing more of here very soon. Viewer suggested Headrush rigs, which were some live streams I did last year, which are kind of fun. But yeah, the Ultimate Guide series, just click on that and it'll come up with the video like so. And there you go. So there's your hour-long video that you can watch to your little heart's content. So now this way of watching will not give you the timestamps. That's why going to the actual YouTube website will give you the timestamp option. So Ultimate Guide to, it's hard typing sideways, to the Headrush pedalboard. I'm walking you through right now, and it's the first one that pops up on the top. So there you go. And I did add some chapters to this. So if you hover your mouse over, let me try and get that a little bigger. So yeah, if you hover your mouse over now, you can see the actual name of the chapter, which is kind of cool. I like that. So anyway, that's how you do that. And yeah, I think Greg is talking to Jay over here. So that's 5150 sound. I do like the tread plate modern. That's pretty much my go-to for like high gain kind of stuff. Just sounds good to me. Let's do a 421. Turn my phone back on. Bam. And last year I was working with a band, and they're pretty high gain kind of sound type songs. So we just went with typical high gain amps, got a good sound on the gig board here, and did the whole record. So it sounded great. And my phone is connecting. So, all right, guys, if you have any questions, I'll go for like another minute or so. If I don't see anybody else commenting or asking questions, then I'll go hang out with my wife. How about that? That sounds like fun. So yeah, I'm playing my Reverend Sensei with Railhammer pickups, and these are fairly hot. They're not like Jeff Beck humbucker hot, but they do have a good zing to them where they need to be. So some yum, let me know if you found the video. And if not, then just message me on Facebook or something, and I'll share the link with you. Anybody else? We're at 45 minutes here. And I'm using Streamlabs OBS to stream right now, and it works really well. I'm using the PreSonus Studio Live mixing board to get a matrix mix on the board itself, and that USB 1 and 2 is going out to all that. Do I tweak the high cut? Well, this is my thoughts on this. So, since Greg from Sonic DNA already shaves the high end off of the impulse responses, there's really no need to bring down the high cut on the IR after the fact, because he's already done it for you. So I could technically just keep the low cut and the high cut all the way, without any filters at all. And it should be just as he printed it or rendered it in the software that he uses. So, what's up, New Zealander? I got a friend from New Zealand. He's pretty cool. Oh, good, Semyon. Let me know what you think, okay? So whether I bring down the high cut to like 5, now, if you choose the impulse response and you still feel like there's a lot more top end than you want, then yeah, bring down the high cut. But if you want to hear the sound of the original intention of the IR, then just make it to where there's no filtering at all. And that's the sound that Greg made with his ears, with his headphones, or with his FRFR speaker. And that was the original intention of that sound. So, yeah, there you go. That's my 2 cents. Real fast, let's compare these to the stock IRs that HeadRush includes in the 2.0, I think, update, maybe. Oh, that sounds crappy. Okay, that's better. 412. Here's a 414 balance. See, that's already way too dark for me. 57 balanced. Pitch delay. I'll address that here in a second. So, this doesn't sound as good to me. Something with the mid range is just off, which I'm not a big fan of. Here's some Nick Layton stuff. Sounds cool. Let me go back to my other simple rig here. So, real fast, pitch delay. Those are my settings. I usually keep my mix around 20 to 30%, somewhere in there. Not too crazy. And I don't have any detuning going on. There's my high cut and low cut settings. I should put the tails on there. Delay is a 3/16, but I could change that to quarter. Uh-oh. There we go. Can you show how to use the EQ on the HeadRush? All of your videos are great. Thanks, Michael, for watching. What specifically... what specifically do you want to know about the EQ? Graphic EQ is pretty straightforward. You can see the frequencies here on the screen. So we got 100, 370, 800, 2, and 3.25. So this is my carved preset I made earlier tonight. But if I just made everything default, let's turn the gain down a little bit. All right, there's no cut or boost at all. If you want to bring up some 3.2, you can do that like so. If you want to, let's say you want to cut some 2K, that's kind of like the nasal kind of frequency right there, or we can boost the 2K. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's cut some 800. That's where you're going to get like more of the metal, like scooped kind of sound, is cutting the 800 area. All right, so that's kind of cool. And then maybe we cut some 3.2, kind of smooth out the top end a little bit, and then raise up some high mids. Then the low mid, you can boost a little bit. Then let's say you want to cut some 100 hertz. Or maybe you want to do opposite. Maybe you want to keep the low mids the same and just boost 100. And all this is going to be drastically different depending on if it's after the amp or before the amp. So let's move the graphic EQ before the amplifier, and this is what it sounds like now. Okay, Samyang, I see your question there about the membership on the website. What that is referring to is, let me pull this back up. If you just go to the homepage, click on the Dr. McFarland Studios, the membership details, click here. That's where you click. And it comes up to the sales page there with the ultimate access guide to anatomy and music, headrush tone sculpting, ultimate guide to music production, and finally learn to play, which I'll be adding more to that here very soon. So you can buy everything individually and pay a lot more, or you can just pay the 6 easy payments or the one-time payment. So that's what that means for all that. So if you want to take your knowledge of music and production and everything to another level, then that's what you would do for that. It's a good option for you if you want to take some private lessons from me in video form. So I hope that helped a little bit with the EQ. So if you have put an EQ before the amp, then and my phone's it's gone 10% here, so I'm probably gonna have to cut this off here in a little bit. But EQ before the amp is cutting out some frequencies before it actually hits the amp, so maybe the amp won't be as fizzy, and that's just an option. Especially like, let's put it back on the carved. Okay, and let's put the EQ back after the amp and cab. So you can hear that the sound changed a little bit. Let's put it back before the amp and turn it off. So you may not notice it as much before the amp. So that's boosting a lot of that 800 into the amp, which is really what a tube screamer does. I can't remember the actual frequencies of a tube screamer, but it will push those mid-range frequencies into the front end of the amp. And at that point, you're getting more volume, more gain from the amp. versus doing EQ. So really at that point, an EQ pedal can take the place of a tube screamer because you're pushing the same kind of frequency range there that you would be with a pedal. Let's bring the high end back up. You can also boost the gain, which doesn't add gain before the amp, but it definitely does after the amp. Yeah, it was a lot louder, wasn't it? So 6 dB of gain is going to push your volume a lot, especially if you want a solo boost or something. So I would suggest starting with the graphic EQ and just experimenting with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters there. And there's a lot you can do with a graphic EQ, but yeah, definitely. It's definitely pushing the frequencies into the front end of the amp. But after the amp is definitely sculpting the sound a little bit more. So cool. And here's back to the impulse response. So, and it's a different sound than the cab and EQ and graphic EQ. But it really just depends on what you're going for. So that sounds really smooth to me in the upper range. And it'll more than likely sit in the mix a little bit better, in my opinion. So because once again, you have to consider vocals, the cymbals, any other high-end information in the mix. You don't want the electric guitars to take over that. Excuse me. And if you watch any like professional engineers on YouTube talk about how they mix guitars in a song, more than likely you'll see them roll off a lot of that high end around, maybe like 6 to 9K, around that range. Just like what Greg said earlier, he, most of his IRs are clipped between 7 and 9K, depending on the mic type and speaker. So it does help to fight the fizz in digital maulers for sure. Yeah, I do agree. Sonic DNA does a good job. Good job, Greg. So this is EVH 5150 land right here. MD 421. And extended bass. All right, I feel pretty good about that. So if you're not convinced about impulse responses, that's perfectly fine. Just keep playing around with the stock cabs and maybe a graphic EQ. But if you want to shorten the amount of time that you find a good sound, if you're just not experienced enough with EQ to sculpt the sounds the way you want, then just get some impulse responses from Sonic DNA, because they're not very expensive, but they sound great and they can get you a little bit farther down the road. So yeah, that's my professional opinion there. And thanks guys for sticking in with me. I did go an hour today, which I meant to only go maybe like 20 minutes or so. But it's just fun sitting here playing guitar, because I'll be playing guitar here anyway. So might as well just go live and say hi and maybe answer a few questions that people may have. So Thanks for the super chats, Sumyun. That was very cool of you to do that. And it's my pleasure to help anytime. So, how much storage does the headrush have? I'm not sure. Global settings. I don't think it really says. I'm not sure how much storage it has. It's a lot. And the impulse responses don't take up a lot of space anyway, so you can have literally thousands of files on your unit, and it's just a computer. So, I think it's got like a quad core processor, and all the goodies in there. So it's a high end computer that makes some really killer guitar tones. This is what I like. All right, my leg is going numb from having this guitar sitting on it for so long. So, yeah, thanks for watching, Greg. I know you missed a live stream last night, and I'm sorry about that. So, my wife was upstairs watching a chick flick, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm good with not watching the chick flick anymore. So, I'm gonna go downstairs and play guitar for a little bit, because that's what I do. Yeah, I'll be on Facebook answering questions and posting videos and just trying to be helpful. So, all right, guys. Once again, go to drmcfarlandstudios.com. Check out the Ultimate Access Bundle. And so that way you can become a student of mine in the private sector apart from YouTube and learn more about music theory, music production, and headrush tone sculpting. So thanks, guys. Thanks for the super chats. It's always appreciated. And maybe next time you talk about delay types in the headrush. Really nice to see you live. Yeah, I have a video, J. Eduardo. If you actually type in headrush, let me do it right now. So you can see. You can see it. Headrush display. There we go. This is actually a video from the headrush tone sculpting course, but I made it available on YouTube just as like a freebie. So if you type in headrush delay types, it's right there. Delay types and divisions, headrush pedalboard series. It was released 8 months ago, and it has 2.7 views on it. So you can click on that. Skip ads. And there we are. So you got the delay right there, and I talk all about different delay types and how to get the like dotted eighth sound, and yeah, chick flicks. Can't do it. I mean, I can talk about delays in a live stream, but I literally have over 100 headrush videos on YouTube. So just check that out. Just check out that one video. Okay. That'll be it. All right, guys. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chats. And I am Dr. McFarland. I'll see you in the next video. Keep rocking.